Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, welcome in this session. In continuation of the previous lecture, we have to discuss in more detail about teacher self-evaluation. In previous session, we have discussed the instrument and the guide, how the teacher can make self-evaluation. There were 6 components of that instrument. Let's see what is here in this presentation. Self-evaluation of teaching can range from personal reflection to formal assessment. Teacher self-evaluation is a rigorous and systematic approach. Evaluate learning and context of learning. So while rigorously going through some systematically way, the teacher have to evaluate learning and the context of the learning in which the learning have been made. Let's first discuss the context of evaluation. In this diagram, you are able to see there are certain criterion stated over here, and all these three starts from the context of evaluation. First of all, let me discuss with you the core context of evaluation, wherein the first one is the historical and cultural embeddedness of the phenomena of evaluation. Evaluation is not new. There is some history, there is some cultural notions that have been embedded towards the phenomena of evaluation. On the basis of evaluation, you can rank someone, you can identify the different factors to be presented and to be given more emphasis towards the learning, towards the improvement, towards the achievement, and all these things makes able to highlight the influence of teacher in the classroom. And the second context is national and international evaluation discussions, because for teachers, the system of education is market oriented, and it have to run accordingly as it is going on across the globe. So that's why both of these discussions are necessarily required to be incorporated. What is being done here in different evaluation interests, fears, and targets. So as far as the interests are concerned, that might be have to set the standards, set the goals, to meet the objectives. But fears are also prevailing at the same time, because people have fear towards their demotion, towards their negative influence, negative point of view of the evaluator. As the historically we can see, it started from the day one, when the first one in this world started to teach, started to do something for incorporation of the notion in human being, in the thought. So as far as the industry is concerned, or the system of education is concerned, they have set the standards. The first standard is the ISO 9000. This is based on the quality standard of evaluation known as the QSED. The third context of evaluation is common understanding of the phenomena that should be evaluated. So evaluation is made about the basic concept and phenomena. If the evaluatee has some understanding about that, it is based on the output indicators or personal development. So it guides towards up to what extent the output is being done and what can be done more towards having some further output and personal development of the teacher. The prevailing trends of evaluation across the globe are indicator-centered evaluation. Here in this indicator-centered evaluation, there are OECD. These are some standards and tools, or you may say toolkits used for evaluation. These are strict, highly structured procedures. Most probably these all are used in the industry, in the business, in the management. Similarly, some measuring soft outcomes. It's also another trend towards evaluation. And innovative evaluation approaches. One is carried out by IDEA and IOC. And second, targeting empowerment of participation. Up to what extent the participants have been empowered. What things are needed to be provide them to get some more strength towards their role, towards their influence in the organization. Some other relevant aspects of evaluation are theoretical interest in evaluation and meta-evaluation. What theories say, and on the basis of that theoretical framework, rather the evaluation aspects in practice is aligned with those indicators, aligned with those theoretical framework, or something else. Expertise of evaluation, no doubt. To conduct evaluation, it's very necessary. The evaluator should have some expertise. Herein we are discussing about the teacher self-evaluation, so it's very necessary for him to have some expertise. Purpose and meaning of evaluation should be very clear and distinct, not ambiguous. Target object of evaluation. What is the objective or what is the target they have to achieve through this evaluation? It should be very clear. And evaluation practices and methods. So some prevailing practices and methods are required here to be gone through, and likewise are required to be used for this. Context of evaluation. In which context the evaluation has to be conducted? For promotion, for evaluation, for some measurement, for some to meet some goals, so and so. Here we should discuss some advantages and disadvantages of the external evaluation as compared to the self-evaluation. Advantages of external evaluation are to see rather the objectives are reliable, are aligned with the outcomes, easily transferable results, no self-deception, no cheating, should be combined with internal self-evaluation, whereas disadvantages are to measure the soft outcome is very difficult, impossible. Processes are aiming at the target of external evaluation. In this way, processes are severely narrowed down. Practitioners are objects of external power. They become disempowered, they become passive. So, you have to avoid these. Self-evaluation can assist to you. These, on the basis of the previous slide, we have enlisted here the advantages of self-evaluation. It improves the educational experiences you provide for your students. Self-evaluation helps in improving those educational experiences. It identifies the professional education you need for further development, your capacity to teach well. So capacity building and professional growth can be made on the identification of this self-evaluation system. Moreover, self-evaluation system or process can assist to prepare for your performance review with your supervisor. And finally, it helps to assess your readiness to apply for promotion and tenure. So on the basis of the self-evaluation, one can go for mental readiness and proceedings to apply for next promotion and tenure. Methods for evaluating teaching. Self-monitoring, audio and video recording, students' feedback on teaching, questionnaires and interviews. Apart from the self-evaluation guide, wherein the 6 components for that instrument have been highlighted in the first session, these are some supplementary methods for teachers can be used for their self-evaluation. Number, self-monitoring. And monitor can be, he or she can monitor himself through audio recording or video recording. After recording, it can be listened and seen, and highlights can be reviewed. Students' feedback on teaching through questionnaire, through their interviews can also play a vital role towards the self-evaluation of the teacher. Planning steps for conducting a self-evaluation. Here we can see different steps that can be taken while conducting the self-evaluation. Number 1, describe the teaching context. In which context the teaching is being conducted. Identify stakeholders and their needs. No doubt, very necessarily, it should be highlighted that what are the needs of the stakeholders. You know, in teaching learning process, the stakeholders are students, society, school institution, and the management. Determine the assessment purpose using central questions. It is also very necessary to determine what will be the will be the central question and what is the purpose to assess that central question. Identify how you will use the assessment results. So dissemination of the results, sharing and preparing and its use is very necessary to be highlighted. Very clearly it should be identified. Create an assessment plan. The schedule, when it will be started, where started, who will assess, what will be the situation, for what time it will be, when it will be ended. Rather, it will be audio, video, speaking, through paper pencil test, questionnaire, checklist, blah, blah, blah. Moreover, in this plan, there must be identified that rather it will be classroom assessment or will be some documents analysis. It might be observation. It might be some product analysis. It might be survey, blackboard survey, official course surveys. So it's a too long list for plans of conducting self-evaluation. Any one of them out of these or a blend of these multiple components at the same time can be used to meet the need or to meet the objective of that very much self-evaluation of teachers. Here are some additional ways of getting feedback about teacher that might have a component of their self-evaluation. Feedback can be taken from students. 1 minute paper, 1 मिनट के अंदर वो लिखें उस पर जो भी वो उनके ज़हन में आता है. That might be some quiz. It might be some midterm surveys from your self-reflection and research. No doubt. These are also very strong methods to get feedback from on the evaluation or performance of the teacher. Here we can discuss some additional self-evaluation tools. That might be teacher's perspective inventory, questions for self-appraisal, general problem-solving prompts, that is through action research, strengthening your reflective commentary, okay, from different comments. The GROW evaluation framework, it's again a guide for evaluation that is known as the GROW, G-R-O-W, GROW evaluation framework. So on the basis of that GROW evaluation framework, the first framework for self-evaluation sorry. So this framework for self-evaluation conditions of education 2007, एक certain year के अंदर what were the conditions of education, उसमें ये self-evaluation framework use हुआ था for teachers. Let's see what are its component. A, creating inclusive culture and climate through building community and establishing inclusive values. Inclusive values or inclusive culture mean for inclusive education, you know, in mainstream education system, there are inclusive education, inclusive classrooms. All the students with many of the disabilities are mixed with the general students, normal students, and they are being taught in the similar classroom, that is the inclusive classroom. B, principles of maximum participation, how the students and teacher is offering the participation to the students through developing the school for all and support of diversity. School for all mean again not to refuse any student to enter in the school due to his any sort of disability. Support of diversity. Such type of classes are known as the diversified class. So diversity mean age differences, their different demographic differences, and so much so their health differences. Part C, support and development of non-discriminatory practices. that is very necessary to be looked into in depth, that non-discriminatory practices should be incorporated. Orchestrating learning, professional and human qualities of each employee are fully known and utilized. So, on the basis of all these three principles, A, B, C, and their subcomponents, it creates a framework for self-evaluation of institution and self-evaluation of teacher. Again, here in 2011, previous one was about the self-evaluation conditions of education in 2007. This one is about conditions of education 2011. Here is some development you can see while we are about to discuss the creating inclusive culture and the climate. One is the building community. The people have been merged and a community has been made, or have to think about, teacher have to think about a community building, establishing inclusive values. That means merger have been done, people have accepted, diversification have been made. So values have to be required to be established. B is the principles of maximum participation, how the people can participate maximum. So developing the school for all. That means some another milestone have been achieved up to now with the passage of time, that has made them able to develop school for all. Component C is about the support and development of non-discriminatory practice. No discrimination among the students on the basis of their health, their disability, their age, their gender, their socioeconomic status, their locale, and many other demographic characteristics. So C1 is the orchestrating learning. So it also helps the teacher to evaluate his or her performance if the framework, if the institution is uh, have been so diversified and based on the inclusive one. So in this session, we have gone through different processes, different notions. The first one about what the self-evaluation, it was described in detail. And then we discussed about the context of evaluation, what are the possible context through which evaluation is made. And also we discussed the trends of evaluation and the aspects of the evaluation that might be relevant. So towards the relevant aspects of evaluation, we discussed the different aspects. We also compared about the advantages and disadvantages on the basis of external evaluation. And finally, we got some leading components on self-evaluation that can assist the teacher to conduct self-evaluation. We also gone through the different methods for evaluation of teaching and planning the steps for conducting a self-evaluation. And also we have learned about additional ways of getting feedback, some additional self-evaluation tools we discussed herein, and finally the framework for self-evaluation based on the conditions of education in 2007 and 2011. I think so you have uh, learned about that, which have been presented before you. When you are in the phase of listening this video, I often advise you to have a paper and pencil with you, wherever on whatever term, topic, slide, or any other content is difficult to you to understand, write it, and after completion of this video, necessarily you are required to arrange your question covering all the components you wanted to know. Then please go to the Google Classroom, write in the comments section your question, and I will make sure it's reply in time. Moreover, we have another option, that is the Meet, Google Meet. At Google Meet, we can discuss jointly in the whole class that question. So enjoy this video, and I am waiting for your queries if you do have any. Thank you, and Allah Hafiz. Stay blessed.